Okay, UFC 274, and another big highlight from the main card, other than Charles Oliveira's win, was Michael Chandler absolutely flatlining Tony Ferguson and knocking him out cold. And to make things even better, if you're a Chandler fan, he called out Conor McGregor in his post-fight Octagon interview. So, in this video, I'll obviously talk about Michael Chandler's win and also discuss what a potential Chandler versus Conor McGregor fight would be like and if that's the fight to book. So, first and foremost, before UFC 274, I had predicted that Chandler was going to use his wrestling in his fight against Tony and not go out there and swing like an absolute madman like he did against Justin Gaethje. Well, in all fairness, what I will say about Michael Chandler is he tends to get restless a lot in his fight, and much like he did against Justin Gaethje, he almost went out there and wanted to swing and bang with Ferguson and almost invited him to start trading with him in the middle of the octagon. But I guess that's when Chandler's instincts kicked in as he switched to his wrestling and took down Tony in the first round. Something I had mentioned in my prediction video was that we were going to see a much more calm and composed version of Michael Chandler, who is going to use his ground game and neutralize Tony's style of fighting. And I think that is exactly what he did. But of course, props to Ferguson. I think he did brilliantly defensively when the fight was taken to the ground in the first round. But then, I mean, in the second round, Chandler found that one opening and in Ferguson's stance, and he just whacked him into the face, Anderson Silva style, and knocked out Tony. Well, brilliant performance from Michael Chandler. And now, speaking of a potential fight against Conor McGregor, do I think that's the comeback fight to make for McGregor? Absolutely yes. First of all, I know there was a lot of talk about Conor possibly fighting Charles Oliveira for the belt, and realistically, I think there are high chances of that happening rather than a fight against Michael Chandler. But McGregor is, of course, currently on a two-fight losing streak, and him going out there and fighting someone like Chandler at least gives him an outside chance of possibly winning a fight and not losing three in a row. Basically, what I'm trying to say is if Conor McGregor returns to fight against Charles Oliveira, it is almost guaranteed that he will lose three fights in a row, which would be absolutely dreadful for his career at this stage and for the UFC from a business standpoint. I mean, if I'm Dana White, I wouldn't want my biggest draw to lose three fights in a row. Whereas if Conor's fighting Chandler, that gives him the opportunity of at least coming out with a win. Now, another interesting point here is the fact that Michael Chandler has already built quite a fan base since joining the UFC. He got off with a great start with that win over Dan Hooker, then fought for the title, and then obviously the fight that pretty much put Chandler over with the UFC fan base was the Justin Gaethje fight. And now, to top off things, he knocks out an absolute fan favorite in the form of Tony Ferguson. So, if you're Michael Chandler, a fight against Conor McGregor would absolutely be massive. In terms of his resume, I mean, this would be Chandler's fifth fight in the UFC, and he's already fighting the biggest name out there. Doesn't get any bigger than this. And if Chandler is able to secure the win, then guaranteed he fights the winner of a potential Oliveira versus Makhachev. Whoever, if those two guys fight for the belt. But we'll talk about that later. For now, Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor is definitely the perfect fight to make if you're the UFC. You have two fighters who are hugely popular with the fans. You have Chandler, whom you could elevate as the next title contender with a win. You have Conor McGregor, who has the chance of ending his losing run and getting himself a title shot with a win. So if I'm the UFC matchmaker, I'm definitely booking this one. But of course, the one small issue that I have here is the fact that this fight has been proposed at 170 by Michael Chandler. Personally, I feel it needs to take place at 155 with such huge implications attached to it because the winner of this fight pretty much becomes the number one contender for the lightweight championship after we decide the next champion. But for now, all I will say that this is surely the perfect comeback fight for Conor McGregor. He is going to fight a guy who is absolutely not ashamed to put his wrestling credentials aside and simply stand and swing with his opponent. Because, I mean, let's be honest, if Michael Chandler wanted, he could have taken Justin Gaethje down to the mat and probably would have dominated him there, but he instead chose to stand up with him and deliver an all-time classic. So yeah, there are high chances of Chandler that he's going to stand up with McGregor, knowing that he is in his absolute best while fighting on the feet, and then we can expect a clinical battle between the two while standing up. I mean, it's been ages since we saw McGregor compete in a fight which is more balanced towards the striking department. The last time we saw Conor in a fight as such was against Eddie Alvarez at UFC 205. So I think there are high chances that Conor and Chandler stand up and trade with one another for the entire 5 rounds. Much like we saw Conor and Nate Diaz do in the rematch, which was another all-time classic. And yeah, nevertheless, I think we could have an absolute classic fight in our hands if the UFC decides to book Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. And yeah, with that being said, I would absolutely love a fight between these two men. And also, hopefully, we get some sort of announcement in regards to when McGregor gets the green light to return. And of course, as I mentioned, I'm also hoping for a quick recovery for Tony Ferguson as well after he got knocked out in such brutal fashion. But yeah, for now, we can just hope that we get to see Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor, hopefully at 155. And yeah, that's it for this video. Do hit the like and subscribe button, guys, if you enjoyed this. I'll see you in the next one.